Salutations, everyone. So, Shadowlands is quickly coming closer and closer to ending, which of course prompts me and, well, everyone to figure out what's next for us all. We've crossed into the Dark Portal to deal with Illidan the Betrayer and the Burning Legion. We sailed to the roof of the world and dethroned the Lich King. We faced the breaking of the world and sent Deathwing to his grave. We ventured to Pandaria and uncover its many secrets while dispatching a tyrant, and so much more. But today, I'm going to state some of the ideas that I think we could get that we haven't dealt with just yet, or haven't dealt with completely or fully. I'll say right now that none of these have been exactly confirmed just yet, and as usual, there's a likely chance that these won't even happen. But we're going to discuss this anyways, so here are 6 possible ideas on what might be next for World of Warcraft. The Dragon Isles. The Dragon Isles is a mysterious continent that Rathian was seeking during the Fourth War, and is under the impression that the Dragon Aspects are aware of its location and its existence, and aren't going to fully reveal it to him for some reason. From the isle itself came a flock of black dragons who are still alive despite the fact that they're close to being extinct after the fall of Deathwing, who at the time were looking for Azeroth to help ensure their own future. The Dragon Isles themselves have actually been something in the game for quite some time, since the early days of World of Warcraft, and only recently has come up again. They actually used some of the designs for the Dragon Isles for the Crucible of Storm statue that we can see right here. Many within the community, including myself, think that this is the most likely one to happen next. What makes so many believe this is the hints in Battle for Azeroth, the recent Dragon Bundle, which Storm mounts generally are a huge hint for what's next to come, and the inclusions of Ysera, Elune, and the Emerald Dream. Elune, as I just said, could be a large factor of why the Dragon Isles could be next, considering her heavy involvement with the dragons. It was she, along with her blue child, that helped in establishing a new blue aspect during the Cataclysm, and it was she who spirited Ysera from the Nightmare's grip to a far more comforting place of Ardenweald. And while, yes, Elune isn't a huge factor for why or how the Dragon Isles will happen, I still think it's important to note her relationship with the dragons thus far. As for the Emerald Dream, that is a heavy thing that the green dragons are involved with, and one can assume that if we go to the Dragon Isles and there is a green dragonflight basin or location or continent or zone or whatever have you, it will have heavy connections and involvement with the Emerald Dream. In the Dragon Isles, we can uncover further mysteries behind the dragons, their origins, their livelihoods, and so much more. There's also the matter that after the Cataclysm ended, there was the fact that all the dragons were unable to give birth to more dragons. So, hopefully that should be addressed and hopefully fixed. Plus, there's a wide variety of antagonistic dragons that have yet to be dealt with completely yet that they could use. Such as Sinestra, whom we saw from Beyond the Grave manipulating her brood of Twilight Dragons, Chromatus, the only successful chromatic dragon who was able to contend against all 4 dragon aspects, and Thrall, who was sealed away in the Nexus but not destroyed. Murazond, who is none other than Nozdormu, twisted by the old gods to pervert the timeways, and is Nozdormu's eventual fate. And then of course, there's the great terror of Galakrond, who, while has been dead for a very long time, after facing off against the dragon aspects back in their youth, back when they were proto-dragons, this doesn't mean that he won't come back though, because necromancy is a thing, as well as time travel, and who knows what else could really bring him back, but that's exactly what the Lich King was trying to do in Wrath of the Lich King, so it's very possible that he could be revived, and we would have to face him. Along with this, we could learn and discover more about this mysterious second landmass for the Dragonkind. This could be a good use of the Covenant system to use again, except at this time for the 5 Dragonflights of red, green, bronze, blue, and black, which I think would be a far more successful thing to use something that we already know and already care about, rather than introducing something entirely new, which is what the Covenants were in the Shadowlands. This would allow us to hang out with the likes of Alexstrasza, Chromie, Nozdormu, Rathian, and Kalagos within each of the zones and the Dragonflight Covenants. I don't exactly have a good name for them, but I'm sure that'll be a better name than the placeholder I have right now, as well as the many other dragons. Dragon Isles is definitely the most promising expansion, and it is my hope that we do see it in some form, considering everything I just noted. Well, let's not drag on any further. Boo! And let's get to our next idea. A world revamped. In Cataclysm, the world was forever changed and revamped to fit the setting of the current expansion, as Deathwing's Awakening quickly shattered both Kalimdor and the Eastern Kingdoms into something vastly different. Now, 12 years later, oh dear god, we're getting old. The world is very dated looking, and could definitely use an update both in graphics and, well, in the narrative. We've seen places like Silithus, Darkshore, and Arathi Highlands change over time to this same extent. However, many of us, and myself included, would like to see this go more worldwide. Let's see the world in a new fresh can of paint. Let's see how the world has been changing since so many conflicts have ended, like the Cataclysm. Many of the cities such as Stormwind, Silvermoon, Thunderbluff, Ironforge, they could really all use a facelift, including the ones I didn't even mention, as they're so much more behind compared to cities like Suramar, Dazar'alor, and Morales. I think we'd all like to see them look a bit better than ever. What about Gedgestand and how it looks in Hearthstone? Let's see how that looks in Ternaris in today's game. A world revamp would allow so many new stories and bring so much life to Warcraft that has been missing for quite some time. It would allow us to return to places we first started out in and see just how much they have changed. It also allows us to see old threats again, like the Burning Blade, Defias Brotherhood, Scarlet Crusade, and etc. It also gave the potential to see old favorites again outside of our racial leaders. Not I have an issue with our racial leaders, I just think that we could use new faces as well as the old that we haven't seen for a while. Rexar. Sorry, I might be a little sick. Now, there are of course issues with this, considering how challenging it was for them to do this with the Cataclysm and how it affected the endgame. It might not be worth it to take on such a daunting task as to revamp the world again, as well as what could prompt this change even. My own personal takeaway is that it could be Zoval's attack on Azeroth herself during the end of the raid, the Sword of Sargeras being removed maybe, or quite possibly one of the biggest game changers of all would be Azeroth just waking up. Some have even suggested that they could slowly revamp the world with a patch at a time, maybe, as they did so with Darkshore and Arathi in Battle for Azeroth, just on a wider scale, like more zones than just the 2. Hell, this doesn't need to be a one expansion event, it could easily be a task that takes up to 2 to 3 expansions, or maybe even more. Regardless of how it happens, let's hope we get some form of a revamp for some of Azeroth. The Light's Unrest. For quite some time, the Light has typically been our ally against the likes of the Scourge and the Burning Legion. But as time has gone on, we've slowly realized that the Light can be just as, if not more than deadly than the forces it helped us fight against. With the Void seemingly removed recently from Azeroth, other cosmic forces have turned their heads at the Great Planet. The recent recruitment of the Maghar showed us that the Light can be a threat to us, and while we don't know the full picture, it did not look good for the Light at all. We also saw how extremely they can be with their own goals when Illidan outright refused Zira, who wished to convert him into her own champion, even against his own will, which he responded as anyone normally would and blasted her to Kingdom Come. This leaves us with the possibility of an invasion from the light at some point, either from our own universe or from the alternate one that I just mentioned. Either way, this could prove interesting, as the light, again, has typically been our ally, and for the Alliance's case, it's integral to their identity and many of their religions, which could prompt some serious character growth for them. While the Horde has less of a connection to it, that doesn't mean that they aren't followers either, so that could be another thing for them too. With Turalyon at the head of the Alliance, and has typically found more favor within the Lights than most, this could result in an alliance divide and a potential civil war maybe as well, possibly even leading to conflicts with the Horde, which would more reasonably defy the Light if it came to convert them by force, compared to the Alliance, which I think that the Alliance would definitely still oppose them in smaller numbers, but I think that they would also, at first, be more open to them. This could even lead to the eventuality of going to their homeworld or realm, but I'm hoping they stick to Azeroth mostly for this one. Return of the Void. In Battle for Azeroth, we unleashed N'Zoth upon the world, and he came close to corrupting Azeroth within Ny'alotha. However, we put a stop to him by beaming him right in the face, thus freeing Azeroth from the final Old God who was still active. However, the Old Gods aren't truly dead, simply they've been sent back to where they originated from, seemingly. Plus, Azshara and Xal'atath are both still out there, who are both heavily tied to the Void. It is an eventuality that the Void, and by extension the Old Gods, will return at some point to try and reclaim Azeroth for themselves. There's also the missing blade of the Black Empire. When Rathian struck down at N'Zoth, it went missing, so that could hold a piece of N'Zoth inside it maybe, which could lead to a whole other set of issues if left loose around the world. Even when contained inside the dagger, Xal'atath 2 was just as cunning and dangerous, so we should definitely still look out for that thing. Now imagine a full-on army of the Old Gods unleashed onto Azeroth. This, I think, would finally give us the Black Empire that so many of us crave when N'Zoth was set loose upon the world a little while ago. Except this time, it would be some new Old Gods, or maybe even the ones that we already defeated, just in their full forms. Imagine it, all of the Old Gods we ever fought, no longer bound in their prisons, alongside many other new Old Gods. I guess you'd call them new gods then, as well as the Akir, Faceless Ones, Naga, and so much more. It would be utter chaos and a new era for the Black Empire. We wouldn't even have the Titans this time to help contend against it. It would be a full-on war with everyone against the Void's Black Empire resurgence. That would be extremely awesome to see, especially if Azshara and Xal'atath are somehow in the mix too. Perhaps they're the ones that are leading the charge, or have some other nefarious scheme underway. This would basically be the Legion's third invasion, but with the Void in its place, basically. Much like the Lights, this is definitely a possible eventuality for Azeroth, given how much cosmic forces want Azeroth for themselves right now. And it simply cannot be avoided. Alright, I'm sorry for that one. Pantheon's play. Speaking of the Titans, notably the Titans are one of the strongest things throughout the cosmos, and for the most part we've been helping them out against the Void and the demons and everything really. They are the great beings of order who've, well, have brought order throughout many planets. However, if our goals should ever cross theirs, it's highly possible and highly likely that we may see them turn against us. And good God, would that be challenging for us, given what we've seen and read about, what they're capable of. I mean, these guys can just lift out Old Gods and yeet them in space like they're nothing. Like, just like a carrot, just like, whoop. Now, I'm not really sure or why they'd turn on us, and it could have something to do with Azeroth waking up, or Sargeras convincing them. Hell, it could just be a really bizarre, but maybe Sargeras and Illidan end up on our side against them. Who knows? I think Illidan more likely than Sargeras, but still. I really don't know, but we have had Blizzard say that there may come a time when our goals won't align with theirs, or vice versa. This does check out considering our tendency to go against gods and other cosmic forces, as I've said countlessly. We're basically their infected creations that have free will and emotions, and that wasn't exactly in their design or their plans. They really haven't had the time to react to us because they've been either dead or imprisoned. Hell, half of their failsafes were meant to wipe us out. We basically go against everything they've built, but we've been helping them out either out of sheer accident or on purpose, because it's been beneficial for the both of us. A war against the Titans would indeed be quite insane, and while it wouldn't be our first time going head-to-head against Titans, I do think we'd need some form of edge or aid. That's where either Azeroth or Sargeras could come into play. Again, assuming they want Sargeras to be still against their ideals, which I would admit would be interesting to see, also probably unlikely given his own stance on the universe and, well, us. Also, if the Titans are back in action somehow, this would mean our favorite Smug Demon Hunter would be back, as I just said, which I think would be pretty cool to see him again and also hear what he's been up to since he's been locked in Pantheon jail or whatever you call it. I definitely think this one is very out there and would lead to some serious questions of just how powerful mortals are and how powerful Titans are then. Like, I don't want to kill Titans left and right personally, so I hope that they would find a good reason as to why or how we'd be able to confront or remotely stop something like a Titan. There's definitely a trend here of cosmic forces against Azeroth, and while I do think these ideas are highly probable, I'm hoping we get a lot more grounded stuff beforehand. Karesh and the Great Dark Beyond. Space travel isn't exactly a new concept for Warcraft. In fact, we've been traveling about space as early as Warcraft 2 when visiting the likes of Outland. So we've been going about the stars for quite some time, and we did this again within Burning Crusade and in Legion. Now, one of the places I and many others have thought about going to someday is the planet of the Ethereals known as Karesh, which was forever changed by the attack from the Void God known as Dimensius, rendering it mostly destroyed or partially destroyed. Not really sure. It's rather unclear, but it leads to many of the Ethereals in the search of a new home to call their own. However, if there's one thing Draenor or Outland proved to us, is a destroyed homeworld doesn't mean we can't visit it. Hell, Argus wasn't looking too hot either when we took a good ol' ship to it. Being able to see where the Ethereals came from would be amazing to see, and one of the things I found interesting about them is that they have the technology to restore a planet to its previous state somewhat, as we see in Netherstorm. So maybe we could see that technology on Karesh somehow or something. I just like the idea of space travel and understanding one of the more mysterious races in Warcraft as the Ethereals, as they weren't always mummy men. They just looked that way because of the result of their own technologies on accident. Outside of Karesh, if it is truly destroyed, we could venture to other planets across the cosmos maybe, such as the home planet of Nathreza, the home of the Dreadlords basically, which could house Nathrius and his many Dreadlords after the events of Shadowlands, which it too could not be the most visiting state right now, but it would be cool to witness it. We could even revisit the likes of Outland or Argus, basically. This could be an entire space travel expansion, or it could be, we could just visit one of them, maybe. Since the reveal that the Titans come from planets, I've also been enamored by the idea of visiting where they came from, and what they're like. If they do survive the birthing of their Titans, which I'm under the impression that they do, ever since Argus, just imagine going to the planet where Aman'Thul or Sargeras came from. This is all assuming that the Legion didn't wipe those out, along with all the other planets in the cosmos, which we did see some of them when we tried to thwart their invasions on Argus, with the demon invasions, so I am under the impression or belief that they weren't successful in totally annihilating all of the planets in the Twisting Nether and beyond that. So, here's hoping we'll be able to visit some other planets in the near future. Anyways, that's all I have for right now. Not all these ideas I'm totally jazzed about, but I do think that we'll be seeing some more cosmic threats in the future. Hopefully not right away, as ideally I would very much like to see a world revamp or a new continent like the Dragon Isles, or like I said, some form of a planet visit like Karesh, or just to go back to Outland. I'd love to see just how Outland is holding up, even. Like, I'd like to see the Broken and the Noctithal hopefully escape from it and maybe join the Alliance and Horde. Man, that cough is ruining me, I guess. But what do you all think? What or where would you like to see the next expansion be falling after the events of Shadowlands? Let me know all of your ideas or your thoughts down below, and let's hope it's something that we all can enjoy. Seriously. If you guys like this video, feel free to drop a like or subscribe. You can check me out on other social medias in the description, or you can join me on my Discord where we talk about all sorts of things. And if you like me enough, you can support me on Patreon like these amazing folks here. It helps me out a ton to provide you with these sorts of videos. But until next time, my friends,